Hello and welcome to Talking Points. We've got something in the background. That's me. Sorry, that's me. Sorry.
Oh, that's an intro, that is, lads.
That is definitely
you disrupt the sound of your voice too much, mate.
I could hear the sound of my voice so much, it was like a beautiful thing. Anyway, let's start again. And we're live again. Good evening and welcome to Talking Points number 27. And this is how Spurs are entering a new era following the game versus Manchester City, where we had a 1-0 victory. We're all happy. I'm Sam Spurs for life, and I'm joined in the house, as usual, by Mike-Hotspur Hustler, Mr. K, Stuart Gallop, Creative SKG. That is a name. I like that one. Creative SKG. I'm going to do something like that. Call myself something, but I don't know what to do yet. Before we start the show, please like, subscribe, share, comment. Help us all with the analytics. We've had some really good feedback from everybody watching. We love to hear from you, all your comments. Please put them into the chat. Please just be mindful, obviously respectful in the chat, as we do on this show. And let us get into it. Let me try and get some banners up. Talking Points number 27. Here we go. How Spurs are entering a new era. So before we really get into other aspects of it, and I'm going to ask the first question, and then we can go around the table with regards to it. Obviously, the talking is still rumbling on with regards to our friend, and our friend being Mr. Kane. So, do you think, and I'm going to start with you, Stuart, do you think Harry Kane will be part of this new era?
In the short term, I think yes, because again, I've said it on numerous times in conversation with you guys and other people that, given the time we've now got left in the transfer window, it'll be mind blowing to me if we let it go, and especially if we don't have any players coming in ahead of any departure. So if you're bringing people in, that takes time, and if you're obviously negotiating a deal to take him out, that takes time. So, and time is the one thing that is dwindling by the day. So, I personally think he's going to stay. It might not be what he wants, but that's what I think is going to happen. And then they'll just have to get him working for the year, and then we'll revisit it next summer. One thing I will say, I've just seen something pop up on my Twitter from Ronaldo, and he's put a massive statement out about all the rumours circulating about him leaving Juventus to go to PSG or to Man City or back to Real Madrid. And he's basically just said, look, this is all rubbish, none of it's true. This is all really disrespectful. And for me, that level of statement and
squashes it all, doesn't it?
It just kills everything, and he's done that off his own back, and that's nowhere near the level of statement that Kane's put out. And the rumours with Ronaldo are nowhere near the level that Kane's had. So again, you can throw it in two different camps. You can sort of go down the road of Ronaldo's just he operates in a bit of a different way to a lot of people, or Kane just put out a pretty piecemeal statement just to try and calm things down a bit. So again, just sort of coming back to the key point, I think he'll be here come 1st of September. Okay.
So come 1st of September, Mr. K, and if Mr. Kane is part of our club, do you think he'll be able to be reintegrated to be part of the new era? How do you think that will go?
Well, he's got plenty of years he spent with the club, giving many people plenty of joy and happiness. I think if he was to stay, and he had no choice but to stay, then he would perform on the pitch. And when he starts performing on the pitch, you've seen the effort that he puts in on a regular basis. That gets picked up by the fans. That we're not blind to it. We do see that happening. So I think after a little while, we'll begin to enjoy again, because he'll be scoring goals, guaranteed. And then when he starts scoring goals, he starts to get happy. He celebrates. We'll celebrate with him, because it's a goal for the club, for the team, the squad, and for him. And that's why we celebrate, right? So eventually we're going to start, the love will be back. But that's only if he's staying. Personally, I don't think he is.
Okay. Well, there's comments here saying ship Kane out. So we've got Derek Hutchinson saying ship Kane out and move on. Mike, is it a case of getting rid of him to make this new era work, or do we need Kane to be part of it to make it a success?
I've always maintained that I think Kane's going to stay. I can't, like Stuart said, I probably echo exactly his his rationale. I can't see, regardless if Kane wants to, like, I just can't see it happening purely on the basis that City just keep messing about with the money, the bids, etc., that they keep throwing at us. And I know we've gone over this, but I think for Spurs, if we have any ambition, then we need our prize asset, and Kane is. Regardless of what we think, Son's great. I mean, don't get me wrong. He is. I think if we've got any world class players, we've got two, and that's Son and Kane. And whilst I love what Son's been doing so far in pre-season and against City, I still think Harry Kane in that number 9 role. Who are we going to replace him with? That's going to come into the team now and hit the ground running. I don't think there's a striker out there that could come in and hit the ground running and sort of hit the levels or anywhere near the levels that Harry Kane would hit. I mean, if we're going to bring a striker in of any relevant quality, it's going to be coming from overseas. Now, we're going to have to, if we're bringing someone overseas and build a team around them and Son, it's going to take time. And I think if we were going to do it, we should have been doing it early doors, not a couple of weeks left to September when the deadline day's close.
Yeah,
the season started. We haven't got that luxury.
Mike, I don't understand that. When Bale left, right? Yeah, no one turned around and said, "Oh, well, he can't leave until we get someone that can replace his level."
But
we were in a different.
We never turned around and said we need to get someone his level. I mean, someone hit the ground running. Then. When Berbatov left, we didn't do that. So the history has shown clearly that Levy's not that type of man.
No. I totally disagree with that. I totally disagree with that because I've said this before. We're in a totally different place as a club now. We were a selling club then. We were at a point where if Levy saw an opportunity to generate revenue because we weren't making nowhere near as much as everyone around us, that was the only way we could do it. We don't need to do that now because we're financed differently and from the stadium and from sponsorship deals. And I think there is, Ali Gold's talked about these deals that are in the offing. There is obviously, I think there's something behind the scenes that's gone on financially that's enabling us to work slightly differently and act a little bit more confidently. But we're not in a position where we have to sell like we did before. And that the only reason Levy would leave things to the last minute because he was trying to drip every single penny out of whoever that club was because they have to wait. Sorry?
Is that City right now, though? Because the writing's on the wall. They need a striker, and everyone's clear to see that they need a striker.
Yeah, but they've taken the wrong strategy here. The wrong strategy here is trying to do that in this situation because they've obviously not read us as a club because we don't need to sell. We're not in a desperate situation. They're in a more desperate situation than we are because we've got the asset they want. And they're giving us derisory bids. You can't bid under 100 million and then 100 million and all this malarkey. They need to put in a proper bid. But to be honest,
Stuart, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt because I do want to move on from Kane because
I'm fed up talking about him.
You can do this stuff. But you know what I'm saying?
I've had enough of Kane.
Judging by some of the body language from some of the players, I saw the Dyer kind of interview after the game. There's a few other bits and pieces that have come out. It's almost like these guys are accepting that he's not going to be part of it. And in my personal opinion, I think Son can fill that void. Not necessarily from a goals perspective all the time, but I think he can be that main man. Now, I think he can develop. Now, if we can get somebody else, and I'm looking at the Liverpool model in terms of those forward lines, if we can get somebody else of an equal quality caliber, not necessarily an out-and-out number 9, but a forward who has the ability to score goals, as Son does, I think Lucas is going to have a massive influence this season. I think he's going to have more goals than he's probably had in his Spurs career this season, because just the way he's playing. If we can get somebody else alongside him with the Kane money, if we're going to use this phrase, Kane money, whatever it is, I think we can really compensate. Long term, don't get me wrong, 25 goals, 30 goals a season from somebody like Kane, you're never going to get that back, but you can share that workload. It's sharing the workload, I think, is going to be the more important thing for us. So again, it's how if we are going to do it, do we do it now and just say, right, that's it? Or is it going to be a case of hold on to him and then go into next year? I just don't know what's the best thing.
Problem is, if we get rid of him, if we get rid of Kane, we're then in a desperate situation, because then we've got to find a striker who's going to score goals. I mean,
which is why I don't think we'll do it.
Well, it's too late. As far as I'm concerned, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's done. I honestly, we're not going to sell on transfer deadline day, are we? So
this is why Martinez, this is why
you never
Inter
know.
Milan and Fiorentina are biding their time, because they know that if it drags on and then we set and if Kane is going and we sell him before they've done a deal with us, they can chuck another 20-30 million onto those deals, and we would have to do it, because we would be in that situation. Which is why I don't think we'll do it with this sort of time left. It'll be a calamitous move for me. And the formation and the way we played going forward against Man City, for me, showed that there is an element of us planning for a way of playing that isn't reliant on going through one particular player, because that's why Kane bagged so many goals, because our whole game plan was based on going through him. So you could just see the way we were playing, where we were effectively going forward as a 3, attacking as a 3, not targeting Kane or using Kane to then use Kane to then pass it on to Son. It was a much more dynamic way of moving forward, like Liverpool do, like Man City have done, 100%. Like Borussia Dortmund do when Sancho was there and stuff. So I think it is going to move on at some point. It's just whether it happens this summer or in January or next summer. It's all time.
So I'm just going to come to this comment here from SUBSRCRIBE TV. Thank you for watching, Bob. Selling Kane now will affect as a total lack of ambition. We are a big club. He's a big player. He stays for the 3 years, then he's free to piss off. Do you think he's going to stay for 3 years?
Yeah, I do. If he stays, I think he'll be here till he's 30. And I'll go on the basis of next. If we keep him this season, even if he doesn't particularly want to stay, which I think if he realizes the City deal is dead in the water, I don't think there'll be any issues from him as a player. I think he'll put his all in as he usually does. I don't think there'll be any issues in that respect. But if he stays on this season, then the following season, who's going to come in for him? Haaland's going to be available. Mbappe's probably going to look to go. So all of a sudden, you've got a market whereby there's a lot of top class strikers that are available or want to be available, and all the big clubs are going to be looking to pick these boys off and pick them up. So Kane at he'll be 20. He's 28 now, so he'll be 29 then. Who's going to pay? And this is the other thing as well. I mean, to get Kane then, I mean, if we're looking at, say, 150, you could probably say, well, at 29, we'll be lucky to get 100 million out of him or for him the following season. And for that sort of money, you could probably go and pick up a player that's 21, 22 for a 60, 70, 80 million, and you'll get a much better return on your investment over a longer period. So I think if Kane's
period, that's the point. Kane is guaranteed goals now. So if he goes, let's say he did go to Man City, he's guaranteed goals for the next 3 seasons, regardless of his age, because I think the style of play that he's playing now means he's going to bag them goals, particularly at somewhere like City. You could invest in a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old, as City did with Gabriel Jesus when he was younger than that, and hasn't quite hit the mark. So although there's that sell-on potential, which I completely agree with, it doesn't necessarily guarantee you. Kane guarantees you.
But if you're looking at, I wouldn't put Gabriel in that same bracket, or I wouldn't put him in the top 10 strikers in European football or world football. He was touted. That's why City bought him. Initially, he was touted as being the next thing, the next. I know Ronaldo. He's a walking injury. He's a walking injury.
Yeah.
And I mean, any swap deal that involved him, Spurs, I just wouldn't want it. I'd be like, no, keep him. Bring in, I don't know, a centre back or a right back who we're crying out for. Then we could probably get and move on Aurier, who just seems to be keeping us back from actually doing any deals at right back. That's why I think we haven't brought a right back in yet, because I think we're trying to get him shifted. But I think in that whole new world, I think Kane can very much be part of the new world.
That's the new song. That's the song that is. Oh, anyway, sorry, I'm not going to do it. I cannot sing. So
I honestly think Kane. I mean, he's world class. Let's be honest. If he stays, he's going to bang. You're guaranteed, as long as he doesn't pick up an injury. You're guaranteed he's going to pick up over 20 goals this next season. And with Son and Bergwijn and Ali and all the other players that are in and around him now, there's a different vibe. Yeah. And I think Kane, if he's going to be part of the squad and he wants to be part of the team, when he realises that the City deal's dead, because as I say, I'm going with the City deal's dead. I think he's going to have to realise that it's not all going to go through him. He's not going to be the mainstay in the team as such, because Son has proved that if he's given a chance, he can do stuff. So, like I say,
he's damaged his time he's damaged his sort of stature at the club now.
Yeah,
this was the point where he can he could have shown some proper loyalty, given the fact he's still got 3 years in his contract anyway. And then we've got Sonny, who's committed to the club and showing that he can lead the way and all that sort of stuff. So whether he stays or goes, I'm fully of the belief that, we've got a system, we've got an approach, and we've got a team that that will be strengthened anyway. So I'm not massively concerned about it. For me, it's just like I'm sick of going on about it. I'm sick of seeing it in the news, and it's just becoming really annoying.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to move us on from Mr. Kane. Because our segue, Mr. Gallop did make us a nice segue into it, and we was going to just slightly go off, but I'm going to bring us back onto it. Okay, leading into Son. So my first question is about Son. Following the victory, how do you see Son's role developing, particularly if Harry Kane isn't there? Because if you ask me personally, he looks like he wants to be the man now. Everything about him, the way his goal celebration was, the way all the players came around him, he was like the middleman. And you don't get that when Harry Kane's there, because Harry Kane does exactly that sort of thing. It seems like Son now wants to take on that mantle. I personally believe we should do that with him if Harry Kane wants to move on. I think we should sell him regardless, if that's the case, if he wants to move on. I know we're all saying we should keep him and make him pick up his bottom lip on the red. But if he stays, I just don't know if it's going to enable Son to then be the man. And I want him to be the man. So how do you see his role developing on and off the pitch? Mr. K, I'll come to you first.
Look, as far as I know, he's already the man. When it comes down to a tight game, you always look to your big men to pull you out of it. Kane used to do that, smacking the goal, right? Well, right now we did a Man City job. And what happened? Son came out. He pulled it out of the bag. Other people tried. He got it done. It didn't matter how he got it done. Fair enough, he slipped from a long distance, but he got it in. The intention was there. The consistency was there. So that's really what the team needs. They need to come together. They need to enjoy. They need to say that the hard work of blocking, tracking back, all of that stuff that the rest of the team have been doing is worth it. It's worth it because the guy at the front got one goal. So all your effort, you feel great about it. All the duels that you did, that you had to kind of put yourself on the line, they become all of a sudden worth it. And that gives you a confidence as a team. Then you've got people in the midfield, like, for example, Højbjerg. He's also like a commander in general while the game is being played. Then you've got your captain in the goal behind you, which, he's only recently started learning to become vocal. He wasn't like that before. And I think it was with Sonny. And behind it all, everyone loves Sonny. Now, abroad is concerned, the international audience absolutely loves Sonny.
100%.
They always have. And so therefore, that's only going to increase, the target audience that watch Spurs.
Yeah.
So I think it's already happened. I think we have a good squad of players that like each other, especially if they're winning. They're definitely going to get behind Son. I think we've got a magic ticket. We've got a new goalkeeper coming. He's very vocal, very forward. We've got Romero, who's not very shy, and we got this new kid that's at the front, Heel. I think it's quietly. Is it Heel or Hill?
Heel.
Yeah.
Heel. Right. I think I've got this vibe about this kid that he's going to blow up as the next big thing in about a year or so.
Mr. K. Words for Mr. K. As I said, special K. Mike, what was the main factors you think behind Son signing the contract? Because he came out and I've seen some things that he said he could be here for the next 10 years. He wants to be here. He wants to remain. So that again suggests to me that he was maybe given some assurances potentially that, we're going to be developing things around him. Obviously in the Asian market, particularly Korea, he's massive. He's like God there. So Tottenham know that. They know from a marketing perspective, he is the main man to have in that Asian market. Do you think he was given some assurances in order for him to sign this 4-year extension, which will take him to 2025 and he'll be 33 then?
In assurances insofar as, what do you mean assurances? Are you thinking he's been promised X, Y, Z?
I personally think that the talk about Kane has been such that, right, Son, this is going to be the situation. Because a lot of stuff goes on behind closed doors. After that embrace at the end of last season, it looked like to me, bye-bye, Dele, Son, Kane. Bye-bye, see you later, Harry. You then signed his contract after the season started, or certainly during the summer. There was a lot of ums and ahs, and it wasn't done, and it was talk about it was being extended, and then he wasn't signed, and then he was. It just seems to me that he's now given that assurance that you are now going to be the main man, and he looks like he's taken that mantle. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason why I'm saying that. So that's what I'm just saying. Do you think that he maybe was given that assurance, and the reason why he was signed, or the other way aspect was he told that Harry Kane's going to be saying, so you're going to sign then?
I don't think it's about him doing.
Sorry. Go on, Stuart.
No, I was going to say, well, I don't think like they've sat in a room and said, right, Sonny, you're going to be the main man forever, sign the contract, or we're going to keep Kane on, or anything like this. I think Son just has a genuine affection for the club, and I think there would have been talk around, a playing philosophy and a style and all that kind of stuff that he will benefit from, because he will be able to play in a much more involved way than what he has done necessarily before. So I think for Sonny's just like he's just of a different mindset to so many different people that he's latched onto the club. We've backed him when he had to go off to the Olympics, or he had to go and do military service, or could have done military service and all that stuff. And I think he just really likes the club. He really likes living in London and all that kind of stuff. So we've just lucked out that we've managed to come across a guy who is just one of those very few people in football who is very genuine, very honest, and very committed. So, bloody Harry Kane can learn a lot from him.
You know what? As much as I like that sentiment in football, it's sometimes you can get that from a player, but there's so many other influences which will make them make other decisions. Agents being one of them. If his agent didn't get the right deal and they could have got, potentially got him out of the club, they might have tried to do that, because him signing a new contract with Spurs means no agents is going to get money. So moving him on, you could potentially do it. So I'm going back to Mike on that one. What would you think is his main factors for signing the contract for another 4 years?
I actually think he's probably signed the contract for another 4 years, mate, purely on the basis, and I think a lot of it will boil down to the fact that I think he genuinely does love the club. I think he's got that bond with the fans, and you can just see, like, he doesn't come across as the type of player that just sort of is just chasing money, or chasing, I don't know, I say hopes and dreams, trophies, etc. I mean, I might be completely off the mark, but he just seems like he's just got I don't know. It just seems like he's got a bond with the club, and I think he probably thinks that there is potential that we can, with the right manager, the right coaching staff, the right mentality within the club. I think he probably thinks that this team, the squad, the club, it can win trophies. And when you look at, I suppose, when you look at the squad as a whole, we have got the players to win trophies, and we have had the opportunities to win trophies. I mean, he's played on the biggest stage in European football in the Champions League final. So there is the potential there that Spurs can do stuff, but it's down to the players. And I know there's an element of you've got to have a bit of luck in competitions to get to finals, etc. But or even win them, for in fact. But I think I do think Sonny. I think he sees I do think he sees the potential in the club, and I do think he generally has a love for Spurs, and that's why I think he's signed another 4 years. He said he's happy to retire at Spurs, didn't he? I think it'd take him up to 33, 34. And for me, that's good enough for me. I mean, if he carries on the way he does, and I've mentioned this, and I've mentioned it in previous streams, I still don't know if he is the number 9 that we need. I think if he has a good season this year, I think a lot of it will be down to because teams haven't sort of figured out what Sonny's about, and I suppose they don't know how to deal with him as such. Whereas Harry Kane, you kind of know what you're going to get. If you've got Son out on the left, you know what you're going to get. But him playing essentially in that number 9 role, it's the unknown, isn't it? So I think if he does play in that number 9 role and he gets success, I think it'll be large of it. Obviously, I've taken away from him being a good footballer, but I think a part of it will be just teams won't know how to, or haven't figured him out, and he's getting maybe a bit of success off the back of that. But I still think if Sonny, to get the best out of Sonny, I still think he's best in on the out on the left. There's no one better in the game from my perspective.
You know what? I think he's better down the centre. Do you know what? I think he's a forward player that if you isolate him on okay, I'll take it back. What I saw from Jack Grealish, he seemed to be very comfortable on that left for Aston Villa, but I know that Pep wants to make him more central. The reason being, if you're isolating on the left, you can if you're a good defender, you can make Sonny just play down the left. If he's playing central, as what we've seen with Lucas, it's either or. You can go either way, and you're not quite sure. That's why I think Lucas has got a lot more potential if he gets into those positions. I think Son is such a skillful player, such a knowledgeable player. His goal that he scored in the the game against Arsenal, I believe it was, in the friendly, when he was in the box, literally in the 18-yard box. He actually scored just outside the 6-yard box. That was a poacher's goal. He got the ball, one touch, bam, shot. Now, I think his finishing is up there with some of the best in terms of his numbers, percentage-wise. I just think he needs to be given an opportunity centrally, maybe to develop that.
He's not strong enough, so Sam. He hasn't got that physical attributes that a number 9 should have, and he can't head a ball.
Have the physical. But hold on a second, Mike. We've got now masterclass coaches now. These guys are not regular run-of-the-mill coaches that we have in the Premier League. They're actually exceptionally good. They will find a way to make things tick. Now, if Sonny's in the middle, and he's been given the clear assurances that the conduit of scoring goals is going to be put onto his shoulders, because he does score. He is good at scoring. His foot is quite good.
I think he's blind.
It's nothing with his finishing.
And if the play is on the right-hand side, he can get involved in that. They can use him. If he's on the left-hand side, he can switch over there and come across as well. So by going into the middle, it gives opportunities like, for example, Mora and Stevie B to come out onto the wing each, rather than having to fight with each other for the spot. Now, it's all about the number 10 position that we're currently confused about.
Yeah, but Mr. K, on the back of that, if you're number 9, you can't. First of all, you need to be physically. You need to be strong. Sonny is not strong enough as in that number 9 role for me. If I'm playing if I'm a centre back and I'm playing against Sonny, I know I'm going to win everything in the air, and I'm going to be stronger than him.
We've got a team of people around like and Mora. They're good at getting the ball and going forward with it. So there's none of this lobbing the ball up in the air. And when we do ping from the back, right, we normally ping out wide. That's normally where our pinging is going to. So as far as how we're playing the running. We're playing like the Americans would have, like in American football. They have the Rams. They will get the ball and they run forward with it rather than trying to throw it and catch it. So I think our team has developed into a good set of runners.
If you're getting that ball out on the wings, the wingers, they're going to be looking to get that ball into Sonny. Now, if it's going to come in at his feet, then that's fine. You've got a good chance of him receiving the ball at the feet and potentially holding it up. But his game isn't holding it up.
Over the top, he can run to it.
But also reflect on that is if you're putting a ball in a box for Sonny to attack, unless it's at his feet, he ain't going to win nothing in the air. Because he can't head the ball.
I'm going to disagree.
Sonny's the one that's actually taking the free kicks.
One second, Mr. Danny,
I agree with you, Mike. You need a big tall number 9.
Who plays at Leicester? What's his name? Leicester centre forward. God, Jamie Vardy. What I'm saying, Son was played a number of balls up in the air and
he didn't win them.
He won a couple. He didn't win majority. I'm not going to say he's going to be winning balls and knocking flick on. That's not our game. His runs
Mike's right.
one of the best. his
But the
runs
way
that
you're
he
talking,
makes is one
you're
of the
talking
best
about
runs in terms of being able to find space. If you're playing a certain way, you don't need to rely on Son receiving his ball with his back to goal. You can do that. It depends on how you play. What he can do as a false nine is come short, which leaves space in behind, so you can play. I just really believe that he's going to take a next level in terms of his ability to play that role because of the fact that he's not just out on the right side. If you're a really, really good defender, I'm not saying I could do it, but you could think about how you could isolate someone. And I've seen that happen to him in games when he's out on that left side. Keep him down the left. He can play on his left foot, but he's not strongest out there until he comes inside. If you're playing central, I believe, this is only my opinion, that he's going to have a lot more opportunities. His runs in behind are fabulous, fantastic. Just watch his off the ball running. For that reason, I can see him scoring a number of goals. Is he going to be 25, 25, 25, 30? I don't think so. But we need to have that sort of forward who's going to create that if we have others along. I'm just going by that Liverpool model when I see it. Salah's not going to win headers in the air. Firmino's not going to win headers in the air. And neither is Mane. But they have been able to...
Is it too late to buy
Liverpool and Man City? Liverpool and Man City have won the title with no number 9 and no big striker. So the whole thing is like, having a discussion about a number 9 and playing in that way. You're assuming that we're going to play like we did with Kane, where you have him as a focal point and you're playing like with like that number 1 ahead of the attacking players. We're obviously playing a very fluid 4-3-3, and we've seen it all through pre-season. We've been saying throughout the last few weeks, "Oh, I wonder when they're going to change it. I wonder when they're going to change it." They're not changing it. This is how we're going to play. Because if you have those front three as an interchangeable, moving part of a very fluid front three, the defense can't really figure out what they're doing. And that was the problem we had when we used to have, or when we still have Kane in the team. You mark Kane out of that side, and we were screwed. We were very one-dimensional, and that happened in the Champions League final, happened in the League Cup final. It happens in pretty much any big game that Kane's been in that he hasn't shown up in. You take Kane out of the game, job done, because we didn't have any other way of playing. And Nuno has said before, we need to be dynamic, we need to be moving, we need to be this, we need to be that. Because if you can create a load of different ways of attacking that people can't figure out, you're going to be a hell of a lot more dangerous. So for me, it's not even about how is Son fitting into this team now. It's about how the hell you're going to fit Kane back in it. Because the way that we play now, that doesn't work for Kane. And it doesn't work for Kane at Man City, who play in a very similar bloody way. So it's a really weird situation.
Stuart, you seem to be very upset with Kane. I don't know.
No,
I'm not upset with Kane. I'm just telling you facts. In that, if you mark Kane out of a game, we didn't have any other way of playing because everything went through Kane.
I agree.
And we're not playing like that anymore. We're playing in a very different way.
But most teams, if you're playing a 4-3-3, most teams will, at some point or other, although it may be disguised in some way or another, but the focal point in the attack will at some point lead to that number 9 receiving the ball, and then
show me it at Man City, Mike. Show me it at Man City. Show me it at Liverpool when they've won the league without a number 9. They've done it for years, mate.
But we're just adapting
how we're playing. We can change different. We can play in different styles. You know, we don't have to do it in the same way all the time.
But if you look at Liverpool, Firmino, a lot of the play went through Firmino, and then
now
fed off
for Jota.
Yeah, that's this season. But you're talking about Liverpool from last season, or I say Liverpool from last season. They were ravaged by injuries. But if you go back to when they won the league, Firmino was pivotal to that front three in the fluidity of their attack. Okay, Salah and Mane scored most of the goals, but that was because Firmino was pivotal to them feeding off of him. So
this is
we can go around on this, but what I'm saying to you is that all of those guys, yes, I agree with you. In certain points, Firmino would have been a focal point in a particular match or at a particular point in a match, but he was sure as hell not the focal point of a team throughout the whole season, and that was the only way that they played. And that's where it's got to with Kane, is that we had a very, very, like I said, one-dimensional way of playing, and we have to move out of that just to be competitive in the league, because all the other teams around us are playing in a much more dynamic way. And I think Nuno,
you're not going to play Kane on the wing, are you? You're going to play Kane in the middle.
No, we're not. But what I'm saying to you, Mike, this is the mental dynamic that we're in now. Is that we're moving into a situation, whether that's because we know Kane's going, or something else is going on, that we're playing in a style of play where he becomes.
It's not about that.
Less
it's about having options pitch when you go up against 18, 19 different types of team inside your league, plus all the ones inside the Conference League and the ones inside the FA. When you go up against different types of teams at different periods of the season, you need to have different options of attack.
Of course.
Having the big guy at the front to hold up the ball, to get the ball 9 times out of 10, right, is important style of playing when you need a plan B or C. I'm saying what Mike is basically we don't have any player like that right now in our Llorente, no Giroud, Kane. If he's not there, then we need someone like that to come in. We do need a number 9. It's what they call it, a traditional type of number 9. You know, that what you're saying is absolutely right. The new style of football that's been currently played by some of the top teams, they practically are running around with 2 shadow strikers.
Listen, I'm going to move us on from this conversation, because new style or not, Kane is obviously going to be an influence on any team that he's going to score the goals. Yeah. It's just the fact is there's a different way of playing if you play with someone like Son. And that's what I think. There's no right or wrong. It's just I see certain things, and we all see different opinions. It just depends on how you see the game.
I mean, you've got there's 2 formations, isn't there? You've got 2 formations that you could essentially play. If you're going to play with Kane, you could go 4-2-3-1, which probably would suit Kane probably more than a 4. I still think a 4-3-3 potentially could suit Kane. Depends on how you.
What's Cody talking about? We just beat Man City playing that way. What a laugh!
You want me to go back to that?
But the second formation would be the 4-3-3. So essentially, there should be two styles of play or 2 formations that Spurs can get accustomed to playing quite comfortably, or should be quite comfortable. I mean, you saw it on Saturday in the 4-3-3. There's no reason why we can't continue to play that. I mean, we used to play in 4-2-3-1 from last season, so there should be easily a plan A and a plan B.
They will play different ways at different times. Guys, from everything he's been saying, he's saying he wants to move things around on the pitch.
Stuart, let me. Can I ask you guys a quick question? Guys, can you remember some of the goals that Kane and Sonny scored last season? Can you tell me if they were boring? Were they excited? Were they dynamic? Were they quick? Were they fast in transition? Were they exciting?
Okay,
I see some of the comments coming up about. You talk about style of play.
Hold on. The way that Kane played last season, he got a number of goals and a number of assists. I don't remember how many headers he got, but I don't remember him being that dynamic in the air in terms of scoring a number of headers. His goals come from, that build-up play that we have, him being that focal number 10, and then also becoming the number 9. He doesn't score that many goals outside the box, so he's not receiving the ball and taking 20-yard pot shots. So Kane's goals, though he scores in a lot of different ways, do come from being in that box. So he's still very reliant on players around him being able to service him. He's not just reliant on crosses coming in and knocking it in from ahead like the old Duncan Ferguson days. So he's not really, in my opinion, a target man as such. He can hold the ball up, but so can other players. They don't have to be 6'2", 6'4" to do that. Son did win a number of headers on Sunday, but that's not the game that we should be playing. We shouldn't be playing 80%, 90% balls in the air. Maybe on 10, 20%, but then the rest of the game should be around his strengths, and his strengths are getting in behind. We've done enough on Son. I wanted to get onto Nuno quickly because we are running out of time. So on the Nuno thing, if there's one thing this season that you think Nuno wants to achieve, obviously apart from the obvious winning the title, what do you think that would be? Is it going to be a case of developing players, or is it a case of, getting the feel-good factor? He seems to be now trying to gather everybody together, and that team spirit seems to be really working. What do you think his number one, and I'm going to come to Mr. K first, what do you think his number one priority is this season? You like me coming to you first, Mr. K?
His number one priority, without a doubt, is winning games. That's it. It's as simple as that. He doesn't care how he cracks the nut. He doesn't care if he has to someone in the back. The guy is so powerful in his mind that he wants to succeed that he's willing to leave Kane out of a game, not even put him on the sub, because the focus would have shifted away from the game. So that's clever. No other manager's done that, not even Poch. So I respect him for that. So that tells me that he cares more about winning the game than anything else. That's perfect for us.
Spot on, Mr. K.
He has to do
Spot on,
everything he
mate.
possibly can.
You know what? That's a very bloody good answer. I wasn't expecting that one from you, but you flummoxed me with that one. He just wants to win games, and ultimately, that's what he's been brought in to do. Mike, I'll come to you next. Do you, apart from Mr. K's answer, which you cannot now use, what do you think his main focus is, as in this season, and probably long term as well?
I think his main focus. No, I'm not going to use that one. It's a good answer, Mr. K. I think his main aim will be, apart from to win games, I think it'll be to make the players better than probably what they are. I think he's already got that feel. Yeah, so they can score more goals, Mr. K. I think he's already got that. Or he certainly, it certainly seems like it's already on the way in terms of that feel good factor within the squad. I think he's probably worked on that a lot, and you can see that just by even during pre-season, you could see the togetherness starting to come back. You saw it when Taganga came off as a sub, and it's almost like Nuno's worked on A, getting that togetherness, and B, getting the players interacting with the crowd and getting the crowd back on the side for the players. Because I mean, without the fans, or if the fans are on the players' backs, it's an uphill struggle before you even started. But I think it's coaching. I do, and I look at. I hate saying it. Well, I don't hate saying it because it only means good things for Spurs, but I go to Sanchez and Dyer. Whatever he's done with them in pre-season, I know it's already. I don't know what he's done, but you look at the Arsenal game. I know it's pre-season, but that was a strong Arsenal game, a strong Arsenal side that we came up against, and those guys, they looked all right. And I don't know what he's done, but it's obvious as well is the fact that Nuno's a coach, and I think his aim is to make players better than what they are. I mean, surely that's the aim of a coach is to coach players and enhance their skills and tactical know-how, etc. And whatever he's doing with the players seems to be working, because you look at Dele. I mean, Dele looks like a different player. He's fitter. He's put on a bit
certainly
of
working more
size
in the defensive area.
And you look how much
on Sunday. He ran 11K on Sunday.
I was just about to say that. You look at how much ground he's covering in the game. It's ridiculous. I don't think he probably even covered that in under the Pochettino days. So I think he's making players better. I mean, I'm just going to go back to look at Dyer and Sanchez. I mean, would any of us before the game, we were probably all nervous about those two starting against City. We all probably thought, oh, how many mistakes are we going to get out of Dyer? How many times is Sanchez going to cock up? But
there was that emoji.
There was nothing like that on Sunday. And the players, not the players, the fans, when Sanchez hit that last, I think it was like probably 30 seconds ago, he hit that big, against De Bruyne, he hit that big tackle. The crowd loved it. And I just put it down to Nuno's obviously doing stuff, and he's got that coach Ian Cathro, who's highly well regarded in the coaching world. And I think they're starting to obviously work their magic, and I hope that's the only thing I'm hoping for the rest of the season is consistency. If these players can be consistent throughout the season, then I think we stand a very strong chance in being successful with, I suppose, whatever targets have been set for us as a club this season by Levy or whoever's in charge. I think we stand a good chance of having a good season, but consistency is key there.
Do any of these things that Tom are saying here, winning over the fans, number one, bringing the team together, number two, getting top six and winning a trophy is number three? Do you?
I think that's fair.
Do you think
I think he's done the first two already.
Yeah,
I think he's done the first two already. His first interview, he turned around and said, "To dare is to do." He goes, that attracted my eye. And that particular motto, not even Levy's mentioned that for a while. So I think to a certain degree, he's had a game plan from the beginning, which was, as Tom over here has rightly said, first of all, look at the fans and say, listen, I need you guys to help me sort those guys out. Right?
Yeah.
So Jose couldn't do that with the fans. Right? So he studied that and said, hold on, the dynamic in the last season with the last manager was that the fan base was against the manager. He's a top manager, but it didn't matter. So the first thing he did is he stepped in and said, to dare is to do, knowing full well that every single fan out there sings that every day.
Okay.
And we wish someone was us. And that's what he did.
Stuart, is there any more that you would add to these 3 comments that Tom's made here?
No. I mean, all the stuff that Mr. K said and Mike said, I totally agree with. And, I think it's all about, getting their confidence up, because a lot of them are absolutely destroyed confidence-wise under Mourinho. And I think fitness is a massive factor in it as well, because the players were very, very obviously not fit last season. And I think that then made games a struggle, which then hit their confidence, which then it just spiraled out of control, really. And I think that's where things got so bad. And you can already see they're loads fitter, and that gives you confidence, because it means you'll be able to do the things you want to do in a game and not suffer for it and all that kind of stuff. So that's only going to get better through the season. So the fact we put in that sort of performance under a lot of pressure, let's not forget that, because they were the champions. There was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with Kane and all the other stuff. And we didn't luck out that game like we have done before, where we were reliant on the VAR and all that kind of stuff. We ran that game on legitimately based on how we set up and how we played the game. So if he can do it against Man City, mate, let's see if we can just go on a bit of a little run now. Because if we get through the next 5-6 weeks and be in a good position, I think that sets us up really well for the rest of the season.
And I think if you're fit as a player, you're going to be confident, aren't you?
Yeah,
I know confidence.
In an interview, he was saying about the fitness and stuff.
Yeah, because I know confidence. There's a number of different factors with regards to confidence, but one of them is if you're fit and you feel fit as a player, you will feel confident on the pitch, and you'll feel confident in the last 90 minutes and be able to run 11k like Delhi did.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, do you remember when Poch first came in, and the interviews of the players after they had 1 or 2 successes? The interviews of the players were saying that we attribute the main reason for the success is the fitness that our coaches put into us before. So yeah. I think that's something which, our squad really appreciates.
Yeah.
You know what, guys? We are at that point. I'm very hungry. But that's the only reason I want to end this stream. But it's been fantastic. I just want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to those watching. We've got quite a few people watching. Bear in mind, I always say this, and we always do this, but if you could, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Get to know about all our content. Plenty of shows coming up for you. We have a preview show for the game. I don't even know how to pronounce the team we're playing on Thursday, but whatever, it's just one of them games. So we've got a preview show and then a reaction show for that on Thursday, and obviously the game coming up at the weekend against Wolves, and a number of other shows. We've got Sid Says, Jody, who Stuart was on recently for our new player rating show. Thank you all very much for watching. Say it again.
I said, think of a chocolate or a champagne or something, or an aftershave, and you can pack de Friera or something.
Whatever it is, it begins with F. Well, that's all I can say. So hopefully that should be a straightforward game for us, guys. And please, again, just out there for viewers watching, thank you very much for supporting us. Thank you very much for supporting Paxton Road. We do our best. Please leave some comments as well if you would like to see anything, particularly on this show as well, because like we said, we do a topic every week, usually based around what we see at the weekend. Over the summertime, it's been a load of things that we've had to talk about Spurs, but now we're actually into the season. We should be able to talk just football. Guys, it has been emotional. Let's say it's been emotional today, very, very emotional, but I think we've done a good job, and I think it's that time where we need to go. So, Mike, Mr. K, Stuart, bye.